Hello and welcome to today's session of the course Let's Excel Together. Here we'll be continuing with our discourse regarding functions, and specifically we'll be going into conditional functions. In our prior videos, we looked at basic arithmetic operations, and we delved into some statistical functions. Today we're going into conditional functions. So getting into it, conditional functions. What comes across your mind? I like to describe them as functions that take actions based on specified criteria. So when those criteria are met, it executes an action, and it applies to almost everything to a life. You know, the fact that you're viewing this is because you've met certain criteria. You subscribe to the course, someone shared it to you, you have a device, your device is powered, you know, certain things that are expected. You have met those conditions, and that's why you can view what I'm sharing, and you can also exchange information based on the criteria and conditions that have been set. And so it is. And if you look at it in our everyday expression, one of the common ways we use this is using the word statements to like, if I could go to this place, if I could get this, if I could, if, right? If. And that is from experience is one of the biggest functions, one of the most used functions in Microsoft Excel, even in a wider context, of computer programming, conditional functions, is a real go-to function that comes in handy. So here we're going to look at the basics to understand the conditional function, and we're starting with if. Okay. So from what we've learned, start by imputing equal to symbol. Next, we type in the name of the function, and in this case if, so we can click or type or open brackets or hit tab key. I'm just going to type the open brackets, so we can see the argument, which is essentially the body of the function, what is expected for the body of the function. And here I was saying, first thing that is expected is the logical text. All right, the logical text. So the logical text is where you specify the criteria, or where you specify the condition that has to be met. Right? Now, when that condition is met, it's when you now go to value if true. So if that condition is met, what action would you like the Excel application to execute? If the condition is not met, what action would you like the Excel application to execute as well? Now, rule of thumb, just for the side, whenever you see the arguments of a function and you see certain holders in a square bracket, it means that you must not specify a value. You can skip, you can leave them blank. However, let's put this if condition to work. So here I'm just going to test the region to say if cell B2 is equal to, I'm going to say uh, east. Okay, we're going to say east if it's equal to east, and then I put in the comma. So that's the criteria to satisfy. So if it's equal to east, what do I want returned? I want the value to return to be a distant state. Okay, a distant state. And if it's not east that is entered in cell B2, I should say northeast. It almost sounds like NORTH, northeast. Okay, and I close parentheses and I hit enter. And we're seeing northeast. By the time we compare it to see what's in cell B2, you see that the value in cell B2 is west. If I change this to east, okay, I see that the value that is displayed in this cell is an eastern state. Okay, now this is a basic example of using the if function. Okay, what do we say? You specify the condition, the criteria to be met. In this case, it's labeled as the logical test. Now there are different ways of specifying the conditions to be met. Perhaps we want to apply to units, into the units here. I want to say when if the unit is We're not saying equal to 95, but we want to say if it's greater than 90. So type in if, right? I'm hitting tab here and I specify the unit cell, the cell here. So I'm saying if L2 is greater than, now remember the symbols, greater than, is like a V, but it's tilted 90 degrees. So your V, when you treat it 90 degrees, negative 90 degrees. So that would be 180. So it would come out this way. How I like to remember it from primary school, when I was learning was it has the greater than, it's like the less than is, so greater than goes to my right hand and then less than goes to my left hand. That was just how it worked for me, and somehow I still use it today. That's just a personal secret thing, and no one else has to. But the greater than symbol, specifies. So I'm saying if E2 is greater than 90, all right, what should be returned? The value if true. Here, in the other instance, we return a literal text. You can choose not to return a literal text. Perhaps you want to say, oh, return another cell. Okay, and let's still go for, I'm going to say less than 90, right? For false. And so it's returning pencil. Why is it returning pencil? Let's check what we specified in the condition. We said if it's greater than 90. So let's see. The value in cell E2 is greater than 90 because it's 95. What if I set it to 8? See, 80 is less than 90 and returns less than 90. Okay, now so this is one of the simplest ways of expressing the if function. Okay, and much of the magic in the if function is knowing how to specify the criteria, the logical test that you want to meet. Okay, so instead of greater than, you could change this to the less than. Here you can see it really goes to my left. Okay, so if it's less than, say if it's less than 90, say here now, if it's less than 90, so it will be the value returned. And here I said if it's less than 90, it should return G2. And if it's greater, so if it's greater than 90, it's going to return less than 90. So here I'm just going to change this word so it's not confusing to say greater than 90. So if I'm to put in 90, 1, 2 here, I see that the value here changes to greater than 90. Okay, let's not get too clogged up. Okay, not get too clogged up. These are simple ways, you can specify values. You can use equal to symbol, right, to check if something corresponds with what you want specified. You can use greater than, you can use less than. Okay, now there are two more you can also use. You can use greater than or equal to, right? Greater than, equal to. You can say less than or equal to. Why don't you go ahead to practice with this and share with me your results? Share with me your results. Practice with the greater than and equal to, less than and equal to, and share with me what you got out of it. If it doesn't work out for you the first time, don't beat yourself up. Take it slow. We'll watch the video to just get a recap and then run it again. Now, in addition to the if function as a conditional function, there are several other conditional functions. There's a conditional function known as and. There is another known as or. Alright. Now these are a bit more advanced. Or my recommendation would be to get yourself abreast with the if function using this using this to specify your logical test. Get familiar with it, try to see how you can manipulate this data using the if condition. Perhaps you can use it to check what will happen, when it's east, what will happen when it's pencil. Now another thing I would just like to just chip in is in your functions, in the conditional function, if function, you can nest your function. You can nest a function within an if function. Now nesting, think of it literally as a bed nest. All right. So if you recall how the bird nest work, they pick up those tiny things like from trees, or leaves, and they kind of like they are webbing them together, and it turns out to be like an abode for the bird. So in that way, an if function, you can next a function in an if function. The next I'm referring to here is this next. All right. You can next a function in an if function. And how can we do that? Let's say if, so we're checking, let's check for this guy now. So if D2 is equal to pen, pencil, that's a pencil. I want it to, I want it to give me, I want to get a discount of total cost. So I want to get a discount of 10%. So that will be this total cost multiplied by 10%, which is also expressed as 0.1, 0.1. That's its value if it's true. And if it's not true, I want it to sum. I'm using the sum function. Sum the unit cost, the total cost, and the profit. Yeah. So that is sum the total cost here and the expected profit. Okay. Now I'm closing the sum function and not the if function. So hence the next thing, the next bracket parenthesis, and I hit enter. And let's see the results. What did I get? 18.905. Now what was the condition? If it's equal to pencil, it should give me 10% of the value in cell G2, which is value in cell G2 is 189.05. So 10% is correctly reflected as 18.905. Now that's because that condition was met. Now if we were to change it to say pen, okay, now it's giving me what the sum of G2 and K2. So G2 being this and K2 being this. So if we add them up, 189.05 plus 27.46, it's correct that the sum is 216 point, you know, 512, the decimals, as it's appearing. Okay, so this is just another layer of using if function to see you can next the function inside an if function, and that way your function can be expanded. Okay, it can be expanding, and depending on what you want to achieve, depending on different layers, so one of the areas where people use this, from practice is not just to solve. Whereas if it's false, you want to set another criteria to say, oh, if it's false, I want to write another if function. So if it's not pencil, can you please check again if it's a pen? All right. So I say, oh, if it's not pencil, that's fine. Check if it's a pen. So I'm saying check if it's a pen. Now this is just another one. So if it's a pen, say, oh, it's a pen. Okay, it's a pen, and I say nothing, I'll just leave it blank. I'll just leave this blank. And now I've closed this if condition. So I'm closing the next if condition and I hit enter. So you see, it's one a pencil, so that's why it says, oh, it's a pen. So if I should change it to the pencil, back to the pencil, it gives me that value that we specified here. But if it's a pen, it says, oh, it's a pen. Okay. So don't let it get so much. Don't let it clutter you. This is, well, we're getting into the tricky stuff. Okay, and each function is a broad area. So it's to take it in steps, right? Familiarize yourself with how to use it with equal to symbol, greater than, less than, greater than and equal to, less than and equal to. Then try to write another function or another operation inside your if function. From there on, try to write another if function inside your if function, just like we did here. Okay. Now, another function I like us to look out for, briefly, is again the count function. Remember, we looked at the count function, we looked at the sum function. You can also there are ways to combine the count function with if function, sum function with if function as well. And these are count if or sum if. Those are the names of the function. And you put it in here, so you can say count if. Okay, so what's the description? It counts the numbers of cells within a range that meets the given condition. Okay, so remember the count function is counting number of cells that have values, like numbers, numerical values in them. But here now, you're saying if you're combining using it as a count if function, you're not just checking out for numbers, but if a particular condition that is specified is met, give me a count of the cells. Okay, so this is not restricted to numbering, but it's checking for that condition or criteria that you're going to set. Now let's take a look at it. If I should hit the tab key, we see the argument. So it says range and then criteria. The range. What's range? We know range to be, selection of cells, right? So I'm going to select column B, or perhaps I should select column C. We haven't really touched column C yet, and so everyone what's going on there. So I'm just going to say column C to column C44. Okay, and the next thing, if I hit the comma, is for me to specify the criteria. So what's the criteria? I want to count if um, the ref's name is Jones. So since it's a literal text, I'm going to put it in quotes. So I'm going to say Jones, close down my quotes, close my function, right? And I hit enter. Now you have this data set, it's not a challenge, I would like you to confirm, you can do a head count. How many entries with Jones are in column C? So we have the first Jones here, right? I'm just going to vote this. We have second Jones, that's 2. We have third one, 3. We have one here, almost missed that, 4. We have another 5. This is 6. Scrolling down. This is 7. Scrolling down. And look at this one here. 8. I can't see any other Jones. I can't see any other Jones. And so the result is accurate, that you have 8 entries with the name Jones. Now, I'm assuming you're already starting to put this together, where you want to apply this kind of functions, right? To count based on if the criteria have been met. To now many people have Jones, perhaps you want to apply to say, oh, how many entries do we have for the eastern region, for the central region? The count if is a really, really handy function for to perform this kind of operations. All right, the count if is really, really handy. The next is sum if. Okay, so here we've counted. But what about sum? We've wanted to add, right? So sum if. So yeah, I'm going to just sum number of units that a Jones can sell, right? So here I'm going to say the range. We're still going to apply cell C2, right? Cell 44, and then what's the criteria? Criteria specify again is Jones. Okay, Jones. Now, the next bit is sum range. Sum range. Now, one tricky thing about this sum if formula is, you recall I said whenever you see a square bracket, it means it's optional. You must not provide an entry there. However, because you're talking about sum, if you do not provide an entry for the sum range, that's where you want the sum action to take place. The actual application is going to apply the sum action to that range that you specified here. So in this case, C2 to C44. And we can see that C2 to C44 does not contain number, it contains text. So that's all operation will not yield a positive result. So we have to specify a range, that contains numbers. Another rule of thumb is your range here in the sum range must be equal, the same length as the range here. So that means whatever range I'm specifying here C2 to 44, we're talking about 43 records, right? 43 rows. It must, whatever range I'm going to return here must be equal. Okay, so I'm going to do that to calculate by saying C2, E2 rather, to E44. I'm going to close this parenthesis and hit enter. Okay, I have 309. For it to do a head count, since we already have John's involved, I say 92 here plus 60. We can be doing that math, right? Plus 60 we have here, another 60 here. We have 35, we have 16, we have 64 here, we have 4 here, and we have 62 here. Summing that up, what value do you have returned for you? Your value is 393. You can see that this is correct. Now, just to put a little spanner in our thoughts, when I say if the sum range is not the same length with the range that was specified here, it will return an error. So let's put that to test and just change this to take E4. Alright. It doesn't give the correct, it doesn't give you the correct value, it doesn't give you the correct value. Okay, so these are some things to take note of. I would like to drop a take-home assignment for you, but to do that, to do the take-home assignment, I want to just introduce an extra to sum if. Same goes for count if. And guess what? The average functions for average, it also has average if. You can also play around with it. Okay, but I want to add something to say count ifs, sum ifs. Now, where do we use count ifs or sum ifs? What if your criteria is more than one criteria, just like we have for the pencil and pen, right? You want to specify more than one criteria. Okay, if you want to specify more than one criteria, you now use sum if function. Okay, and it's nothing to be scared about, right? So we just type it in sum ifs. So now is to look critically at the arguments that is specified. So sum range. So here, for this one, this normal sum if function, the sum range was the last argument. But here they are asking you to specify the sum range first. So we just say E2, E44, right? And next is asking for the criteria range, which represents where we want to perform that action in terms of the comparison. Okay, in this case, this is our column C where we have our reps, right? And then now criteria, and so it's labeling it for you. So all of this is criteria one. Okay, so to sum for criteria one. So criteria one, we're saying if it's equal to Jones. Okay, if it's equal to Jones. Now, if you have another criteria, so it says criteria range 2. So you want to specify to say, oh, it's not just Jones, but I want to see if Jones is selling. Let's take it to the item. Okay, if Jones is selling pencil, for instance. Okay, so now I have to specify the criteria. So pencil, if Jones is selling pencil, I can specify as many more criteria as I wish, but I'm just going to leave it at 2. However, the sum range, where it's going to be doing this addition is just a single point here, a single range, which is E2 to E4, which represents our unit. So, and I close the parenthesis, I hit enter, right? And now I can see it says that Jones sold a total of 35 pencils. So now let's take a look at our Jones entry. So Jones here sold pen, Jones sold binder here, binder. For pencil, we have 35. Let's see other things Jones sold. He sold pen sets, he sold a pen, he sold a binder, a pen set. So he only sold one set of pencil, right, which was for 35. Now let's see insatisfied Joe sold pen. Okay, and let's just use that to test. So let's change this from pencil to pen and see if the number is going to increment. We have 146. And we can see here that when he sold pen, he sold 92 here. Next time he sold pen again was for 64. He sold 64 units of pen. And scrolling down, that's that regarding the pen. So 92 plus 64, it is correct to give you 156. Now I'd like you to replicate this sum if in a count if scenario and try to come up with as many scenarios as you can. Play, get your hands dirty on with regarding to some ifs, the count ifs, and also look at remember the test, the logical test, equal to, greater than, or equal to, you know, and as an assignment, as you're doing this in the count if, I don't want you to just use in our example we're using just Jones, right? I want you to perform your criteria, set your criteria with numerical values. Okay? And if you run into any issues, and you need a workaround, I want to hear your complaints. I want to hear your thoughts. If you're able to work it out, share your thoughts. So others can also learn on it. And if you're not able to figure it out, don't beat yourself up. Share those pain points, and we would go over them. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next session where we'll look at reference functions and text functions. Thanks again. Bye for now.